Farming has to be one of the most overwhelming skills in the game to new players, and even some experienced players still struggle with the question of, how do I train this? Farming is a unique skill in that it is not commonly trained like other skills that you can just do mindlessly on end. To train farming, you have to be slightly more intelligent about your time management. So, today, we will be discussing how you should be training farming from level 1 to level 99. Farming is different that you cannot just train this skill anywhere. There are only certain areas you can train farming in, and that is in these spots known as farming plots or patches. The type of plot that will let you know what kind of crop can be grown there, whether it's an allotment, an herb, a tree, etc. There are a wide variety of things you can plant, but they all begin with some sort of seed which will need to be planted into these different plots. However, before these seeds can be planted, they may need to be sprouted in a plant pot or planted into the plot that has been cleared of weeds. We will discuss all this in the upcoming guide, but first, a note about the tools needed for farming. Before we get into the training though, let's discuss some of the more common tools that will be required of you to train farming. There are 6 main tools that will be using to train farming, and they are the spade, the rake, the secateurs, the trowel, the watering can, and the seed dipper. The spade is used to harvest all kinds of crops as well as to dig them up when they die or to dig up tree stumps or bushes. The rake is used to clear away weeds, which will need to be done before you can plant anything into any kind of patch. The secateurs are used for pruning diseased leaves from trees. There's also a magic variation that's called the magic secateurs. I know, it's very creative. It's a quest reward from the Fairy Tale Part 1 quest, and when they're worn, they will give you a plus 10% yield increase whenever you harvest an allotment or an herb. The watering can be used on allotments or flower patches to ensure that the patch will not get diseased for one growth cycle. We will discuss this at the end, what a growth cycle is. You can also use a watering can on seeds that have been put into plant pods, notably tree seeds, to turn them into tree saplings. And the seed dipper is used when planting most seeds into different farming patches. You will not need all of these for every run, so storing them with the tool leprechaun is recommended so you never forget them in your bank. These are located next to every patch, and as a side note, you can use your harvest on them and they will note it for you, unless it's cabbages at the Falador patch. For whatever reason, he will not note those for you. I don't know why. In addition to those tools, you will also need compost. Compost is used to help prevent diseases as well as increase the yield of certain crops such as allotments, herbs, cacti, hops, and salacious trees. Compost comes in 3 variations: normal, super, and ultra, with each one being better than the last. You can make this yourself by using produce on a compost bin. You shouldn't really ever make normal compost and should exclusively make super compost using pineapples or watermelons or calquat fruits, as they are very cheap. To make it ultra, simply use 25 volcanic ash on the bin once the super compost is made, or 50 if you're using the big compost bin. The entire bin will turn into ultra compost at that point. I should note that it takes about 90 minutes for the produce to turn into compost. Under most circumstances, you should almost always be using ultra compost for the main reason that it reduces the chance of the plant dying from 1 to 7, which is the rate when using super compost, to 1 in 10 when using ultra compost, as well as increasing the minimum yields of crops. More widely noted when farming herbs, it increases the minimum yield of a patch from 5 herbs to 6 herbs, comparing super to ultra compost. I will talk more in detail about how harvesting works later in the guide, but for right now, all that you really need to take away from this is that whenever you are planting something like an allotment, herb, hop, cacti, or salacious tree, it is important to use ultra compost to help prevent the disease as well as increase the minimum yield from the patch. The last thing I want to talk about before we get into training farming is to make sure you have ample teleports. A lot of training farming comes down to how fast you can complete your farm run, and with utilizing the proper teleports, this will help reduce your run time. If you are a lower level and can't use some higher level teleports like the Trollheim or Catherby teleport, make sure you use someone else's house to abuse these teleports. If you go to the Remington house portal or the Yanil one on World 330, you will generally find people hosting max houses that you can use to your advantage. Make sure to take advantage of these if you do not have access to some of these higher level teleports. Okay, let's talk about how to train this skill. I will be assuming your goal with training farming is to get this skill to 99. Okay, I know some of you are just here to know, how do I train to 99? Well, here you go. I won't be explaining any of this, I'm just going to tell you what to do. To train from level 1 to level 99 farming, quest up to level 35, and then do the best tree you can until level 99. That is literally it. It is that simple. The only thing you need to know, if you're worried about the efficiency of your GP, the only plants that you need to protect are maples, redwoods, and salacious trees at the time of recording. If you're just interested in doing 1 to 99 efficiently, you don't care about explanations, quest up to level 35, then do the best trees available until level 99. That's including calquats, that's including hardwoods, that's including redwoods, that's including salacious trees. Okay, you have two options here when starting off training farming, and they both hinge on a couple questions. And those questions are, do you intend to only do tree runs up until level 99? And do you hate questing on your account? If you answered yes to both of these questions, your route of training will be to do bagged plants from level 1 to 15. This is by far the quickest way to train farming at the lower levels, but it is incredibly expensive. The method you will be doing will involve using bagged plants 1, and it can be purchased from the garden supplier in Falador. It is recommended to buy these from her, as they will be at least 600 GP cheaper than buying them from the GE. Planting these in your house will give you 31 experience in both farming and construction, and you will need 78 of these to get from level 15 to get to level 15 construction and farming. The background footage has been showing you exactly how to do this. First of all, make sure you have your house in Remington and set up your inventory as follows: 3 full watering cans, a stack of coins, you should only need about 500 GP, 23 unnoted bagged plants, and the remaining bagged plants noted in your inventory. The method consists of building and removing bagged plants 1 from your garden, and when your inventory is done, run out of the portal, run over to vials, and have them unnote your bagged plants, fill up your watering cans in Remington, and then run back into your house portal and repeat until you're 15. This should not take long. It should probably take you maybe 10 minutes. This is not ideal if you do plan on doing any kind of questing on the account, but if you just want to get 1 to 15 really quick so you can start doing trees, here you go. If you want to quest the early levels of farming, then your questing list is going to look something like this. Keep in mind you can stop at any point in this list, but the quest line I will give you will start you off at around 35 farming without having to ever really touch farming. Start off with doing the Goblin General subquest of Recipe for Disaster, followed by Fairy Tale Part 1. If you're afraid of the boss fight at the end of the quest, you can just flinch it, and I'll have a link to a video of people flinching the boss if you're interested in doing this. Otherwise, you can just bring food or pray melee or something along those lines. Then Forgettable Tale of a Drunken Dwarf, Garden of Tranquility, My Arm's Big Adventure, and Enlightened Journey. After completing all of these quests, you will have 35 farming, access to the Trollheim Herb Patch, which will never get diseased, and Magic Secateurs, which will increase your yield from herbs, allotments, hops, and grapevines. If you are overwhelmed by the quest list, just do the Fairy Tale Part 1 and get your Magic Secateurs and move on from there. Getting Fairy Tale Part 1 is a huge part of farming if you plan on ever doing herb patches, so the quicker you get this done, the better. As a side note, if you don't want to do either of those, you can go farm like potatoes or something like that, but honestly, it's not recommended. Do one of the two methods I listed and just save yourself the trouble. Okay, so all your early levels are done. You now have unlocked the ability to start doing tree runs, and these are by far the fastest way to normally train farming, besides things like Tithe Farm or Bagged Plants, which you can do infinitely. So first, let's talk about the different locations of all the different tree patches around RuneScape. These patches are located west of Lumbridge Castle, the Varrock Castle Courtyard, inside Falador Park, south of the Taverley Gate, southwest of the Tree Gnome Stronghold Bank, and inside the Tier 2 Farming Guild, which requires 65 farming. To plant in these patches, you will have to have a tree sapling, and this is made by taking a tree seed and putting it into a plant pot that has been filled with soil. Then you need to water it with a watering can or the humidify spell and wait. The watered seeds will turn into saplings on the next farming tick. I will go over this later, but it is generally every 5 minutes. Once these are saplings, they are then ready to be planted. You should be using Ultra Compost on all of these when planting them, unless you are protecting the tree with the farmer. Most crops, except for herbs, can be protected by the nearby farmer, but you cannot pay them with GP. You will need some kind of crop to pay them for their services, and these vary for all different types of crops, so I will not go into all of them, but I will have a link in the wiki so you can see for yourself what the different payments are. What I am going to tell you though is that if you are planting normal trees and using Ultra Compost, the only tree that is worth using payment on is maples. Every other tree is not worth it, and if you're curious as the math behind it, I will go over that now. If not, I will timestamp in the description to skip over the math. Keep in mind this is only if you're concerned about the efficiency of your GP, basically gain the most bang for your buck out of your GP. If you're only concerned about XP in general and you have like infinite GP, then whatever. Go ahead and pay for all of them. So Ultra Compost gives your crops a 1 in 10 chance of being diseased during a growth cycle. In the simplest form, you can look at this as saying that every 10 trees you grow, one of them will die under the use of Ultra Compost. So, if you paid the farmer to protect your trees all the time, this would approximately save one tree that would have died, since the other 9 would have survived normally. According to statistics, 1 in 10 would have died. To figure out if it's worth paying the farmer or not, you need to take the price of the payment of the tree and multiply it by 10 when using Ultra Compost. If that number that you get when it's multiplied by 10 is larger than the price of the seed, then it is not worth it to be using the payment for that tree. I'll be using this calculation when determining if it's correct to protect a tree or not, and as of right now, the only tree that it is worth protecting is maples. So normal trees can take anywhere from 3 hours and 20 minutes, oaks, to 8 hours, magics, depending on the type of tree that you are growing. Because of this, most people can get in usually at least 2 normal tree runs a day, 1 in the morning and 1 at night. When these trees are done growing, you can check the health of them and see a large experience drop. After that, you can either chop them down yourself and dig up the stumps to obtain the roots of that tree as well as the logs from cutting it down, or you can pay the nearby farmer 200 GP to cut it down for you. This is generally considered to be better as it can save you a lot of time in the long run, and 200 GP isn't that much. You won't get the roots since you don't dig up the stump, but this does increase the speed at which you can actually plant your next sapling. Then plant your next tree sapling and be on your way to the next patch. I will now show you guys a normal tree run and be explaining different ways to get to all of these different patches. So for your normal tree run, you'll need 6 tree saplings, and then if you're doing maples, you will need these 6 baskets of oranges. If you are not doing those and you don't need payments, or if you just want payments, well, bring them anyway. You'll also need a stack of cash with you. You'll need some compost, so 6 ultra compost. I have the bottomless compost bucket. You'll need a teleport to the farming guild, so I have my farming cape for that, but you can also use a skills necklace. I have teleport to house tablets, which will get me to Falador Park via the Ring of Wealth, as well as get me to Taverley if I just break it outside. I have the Slayer Ring, which will get me to the Tree Gnome Stronghold. I have a teleport to Varrock, and I have a teleport to Lumbridge. In my pouch, I have Law Runes, Astral Runes, and Air Runes, and I have a spade in my inventory. My equipment, the main thing that you need to worry about is that I have a Mud Battle Staff, and I have a Tome of Fire. I also have just full Graceful on, Explorer's Ring, Xeric's Talisman, all that fun stuff. Okay, starting off with the Lumbridge Castle tree patch, you just teleport to Lumbridge. There's not a whole lot of other ways to get here. Just check the health of the tree, pay the farmer to chop it down, use your next tree on it, compost it if you need to, or pay if you need to, and then head over to Taverley. So I'm going to break this outside and run over to Taverley. You can also just teleport to Falador and run north, or you can use the hot air balloon network to get here. Typically, teleporting to Taverley is faster. Again, same thing as the Lumbridge patch. Go ahead and do all of this. Teleport to Varrock. If you have your daily battle staffs to get, you can just grab them right here in the shop. Then continue north and run into the patch. You can also teleport to the Grain Exchange, but generally teleporting to Varrock is very simple for most people, so I would recommend doing that. Pay the farmer if you're doing maples. Now we're going to head over to Falador, so we're going to go to Falador Park. I'm going to use the Ring of Wealth to teleport there, but you can also just use a simple Falador teleport, or you can use the Cabbage teleport from the Explorer's Ring to get here. I'm going to pay the farmer. I don't need to actually pay him because I have the Falador Diaries done, but I'm a degenerate and don't realize that. Then we're going to teleport to the Gnome Stronghold via the Slayer Ring. You can just use the Spirit Tree inside the Grain Exchange to get here fast, and then teleport to the Farming Guild. I use my Farming Cape because it's really good. You can also just use the Skills Necklace to teleport right outside, or you can use the Fairy Ring code outside, which I believe is CIR to get here, and then the bank is right here. In terms of what to train to 99 with, the most efficient way to train farming means to use the best tree possible from level 15 to level 99, meaning oaks from 15 to 30, willows from 30 to 45, maples from 45 to 60, yews from 60 to 75, and magics from 75 to 99. Now, this isn't feasible for most people due to the high GP per XP costs of maples through mages. Willows are where most people generally stop if they have money troubles, but if you are considering doing anything higher than willows and have access to magic trees, at the point of this recording, you should consider doing magic trees. They are the lowest GP per XP amongst the 3 highest normal trees at 9.8 GP per XP. This is not including payment, as we've already discussed we will not be protecting these. Maples are 10.8 GP per XP and yews are 11.5 GP per XP. So for the common player with money struggles, oaks 1 to 15 and willows from 30 to 99, or 75, and then do magics from 75 to 99. Now, let's transition into fruit trees. Fruit trees require at least 27 farming and are large XP dumps for the farming skill. but they take a long time to grow. They all take 16 hours. These are planted like normal trees, but instead when they are fully grown, you will have the option to pick the fruit from the tree instead of chopping the logs from the tree. Generally, this is only really useful when picking coconuts from a palm tree, since coconuts are crazy expensive at the moment. You can make a reason for dragon fruit trees or papayas, but really coconuts are they're insane at the moment. Otherwise, just check the health of the tree and pay the farmer 200 GP to cut it down for you. Typically, you include these in with one of your normal tree runs every day, as they are incredibly GP efficient. Unlike normal trees, the highest GP per XP you will be paying for fruit trees is 8.8 GP per XP for the dragon fruit tree. Keep in mind with these, you will not have to pay to protect any of these trees, since the price of the payment right now is too high to offset the one-time payment that will save the tree if using Ultra Compost. The locations of these trees are as follows: east of the Tree Gnome Stronghold Spirit Tree, east of the Catherby Bank, west of the Tree Gnome Village, south of the Brimhaven Dock, the town of Letia, and the third tier of the Farming Guild, which requires 85 farming to use. Before I show you a run of all of these fruit trees with the normal trees, there are a couple other trees you should do alongside this run, as they all take roughly about the same amount of time. I'll start with the Calquat tree. This requires 72 farming, is located in Taibo Wanai, will take 21.3 hours to grow, and gives you 12,096 experience. This is the most efficient seed in the game. It should absolutely be done whenever possible. Due to its low cost, it's less than 60 GP, and its high XP return. Another type of tree will be the hardwood trees located on Fossil Island. These take absurdly long time, 74.6 hours for teaks and 85.3 for mahoganies, and they require 35 and 63 farming respectively. These are also two more trees that are incredibly GP efficient, and you should be doing them whenever possible due to their low cost and high XP return. Again, do not pay to have these protected. The GP is not worth it for the protection of these trees. If you're after experience though, that's another story. The last two trees I will talk about will be located in the same area, the third tier of the Farming Guild, requiring 85 farming to access: the Salacious tree and the Redwood tree. They require 85 and 90 farming respectively. The Salacious tree pretty much pays for itself with the bark that you harvest. Make sure that you have your magic secateurs equipped when you are harvesting this though, because it does increase the yield, and use Ultra Compost when you plant it, even if you do protect it. And the Redwood is a 22.5k XP dump when it is done. The Salacious tree takes 13.3 hours, and the Redwood takes 97 hours to grow. It is highly advised to protect these. The payments are incredibly cheap and will ensure that you get the XP drops for them. Okay, we now know the locations of all these. I will now show you guys a run that involves all the trees, fruit trees, and special trees I've discussed this far, as well as discussing different ways to get to each of these patches. Okay, I hope you guys are ready. This is a doozy of a run, so here we go. So your inventory, you need to have 6 fruit saplings, 6 tree saplings, as well as having a Calquat sapling in your inventory, and your 3 hardwood saplings in your inventory. Your redwood and your Salacious tree can be in your bank because you're going to need to go to the Farming Guild anyway. There's a more efficient way of doing this with the max cape, but I'm assuming most of you don't have it, as well as me. I don't have it. So you have all of those. You need your stack of cash. Your rune pouch is going to have astrals, laws, and airs in it. You're going to have your mud battle staff and your tome of fire equipped like I did before. Not necessary, but it's good if you want a magic imbue. You need your compost. You need your spade. You need teleports to Brimhaven and Taverley. You also need teleports to Falador. You need teleports to Lumbridge. Teleports to Varrock. You need teleport crystal, and you need your Taibo Wanai teleport. A way to teleport to the Farming Guild, and a way to teleport to Fossil Island. I have a Diggside amulet or a Diggside necklace equipped, as well as having a Slayer ring equipped, because those are going to be the ways that I get to both of those locations. So we're going to start by going to the Lumbridge Castle, then we're going to teleport over to Varrock. Then in Varrock, if you have the daily battle staffs to pick up, go ahead and pick those up. Alright, you guys have all seen this before, so I'm going to go ahead and speed this up and continue talking through it. So like you saw in the last video, we're going to go ahead and finish up the Varrock patch. Just run up north to the courtyard, harvest it, chop it down, go ahead and plant another one. Then we're going to make our way over to Taverley, run over to the southeast, and change out the tree there. You don't have to have all your stuff in one inventory. It just makes it nice. I will point out spots in which to bank along this run, But for right now, we will be continuing on. I will be going to Falador now, so I'll use the Ring of Wealth to Falador Park. Check the health, cut down the tree, plant another one, don't need to pay the payment. Now we'll go to the Tree Gnome Stronghold, do the normal tree, pay to cut it down, plant another one. At this point, you would bank because you're running right past the bank. If you don't need to, then don't worry about it. Then we're going to run up to the fruit tree. So I have papayas growing, so I'm going to do that. I don't want to pick the papaya, so I'm just going to have them cut it down. I'll ultra compost the patch, make my way over to Tree Gnome Village using the spirit tree. Go through the gate, follow Elcoy out of the maze, run to the southwest, and do the same thing. If you're picking palms, you might want to pick the coconuts because they're pretty expensive. After Tree Gnome Village, go to Letia, go ahead and check the health, pay to cut it down, plant it, go to Catherby, and then we're going to make ourselves go east of the Catherby teleport. You can teleport to Camelot to get here as well. Go ahead and dig this up. Sad tree is dead. Plant it. There you go. Teleport to Brimhaven, run to the north. You can teleport to Artie and just take the charter ship here, or just the normal ship in general, but Brimhaven teleports are very fast. Then teleport to Taibo One Eye, run north from Taibo One Eye, go up to the Calquat tree, pay to have it cut down, plant it, there you go, that's done. Now we'll go to Fossil Island. So there's two ways you can do this. You can go to the entrance to Fossil Island, but I prefer to use the magic mushrooms and go to the Mushroom Meadow, then run southeast of the Mushroom Meadow, run down here, and I've yet to do these because I had 99 farming when they came out, so I never did them. But you will go ahead and plant in your hardwood trees here. Again, you don't have to pay for these. You can just use Ultra Compost, and more than likely they will survive. So go ahead and rake all these if you haven't already. Plant them, and now we will make our way to the Farming Guild. Go to your normal tree first. Plant that, cut it down. There you go. And then run up to the north. You can bank and grab out your Salacious tree and your Redwood tree if you need to, alongside payments for it. Go ahead and get rid of your other fruit tree. I had a palm here because I had a farming contract for it, so I'm going to get paid to cut down, put the papaya in, use Ultra Compost, and then now I'm going to harvest my Salacious tree, so I'm going to get out a wood cutting axe and my magic secateurs. Also, I'm going to put on my farming cape here in a minute so I get the extra harvest. And I get a lot of wood off of this. I think I get 13 branches or something. I get a lot. So you're going to harvest all of this, and keep in mind, these are all 8K each or something. So you only need 10 to break even, and I got well over 10. So this was a very good one for me. So I'm going to pay the 8 potato cacti to have him protect it. I will pay the 2K to have the redwood removed, use the redwood on the patch, and then use my dragon fruit on the farmer to have it done. And there you go. It's done. If you're looking for the most efficient way to train farming, you should be doing the highest seed available to you all the way to 99. So, 27 to 33 apple trees, 33 to 39 banana trees, starting teak trees at level 35, 39 to 42 you do oranges, 42 to 51 you do curries, 51 to 57 you do pineapples, 57 to 68 you do papayas, starting mahoganies at level 63, from 68 to 81 palms, starting calquats at 72, and 81 to 99 you do dragon fruits, starting the Salacious trees at level 85 and redwoods at 90. Only using payments for Salacious and redwoods if you are being GP efficient. If money is an issue for you, you're in luck. These lists look rather similar due to their low cost or just the efficiency of fruit and special trees in general. The only differences here are doing papayas from level 57 to 99 versus doing palms and dragon fruits. Everything else is the same. Still do all the special trees I mentioned. The Salacious tree makes up its cost in the bark that you harvest, so keep that in mind. So that does it in terms of how to efficiently train farming. It is basically summed up by saying that you need to plant the highest tree available if you are trying to be efficient and train as fast as possible. Do at least 2 normal tree runs a day and 1 combined run a day if you're trying to be efficient. Every 4 days you can do a complete run of redwoods, hardwoods, calquats, everything. If you want to be conservative with your money, then do as I stated. If GP is a concern for you, only pay for maple, Salacious, and redwood trees in terms of efficiency. If you have other needs for something to survive, then go ahead and pay for the protection of it, like you're trying to fulfill a farming contract in the farming guild for whatever reason. But if you do not care and simply want to make sure that your GP is giving you the most value, then only pay for those 3 trees that I've mentioned. We will now transition into some supplemental farming training. This is nice additional experience and money, but by no means is it your sole source of experience. I'm talking about farming allotments, herbs, and flower patches. There are 6 types of these patches located throughout RuneScape, and they are located north of the Cabbage Patch near Draenor, west of Port Phasmatis, north of the Catherby Bank, east of the Fishing Guild, the southeast corner of the HOSIDIUS house, and the eastern portion of the Farming Guild. There are also 3 herb-only patches located throughout RuneScape, and they are located on the roof of the Troll Stronghold, which is disease-free and requires completion of My Arm's Big Adventure, Harmony Island, which requires completion of the Mauritania Elite Diaries, and Weiss, which requires the completion of Making Friends with My Arm and the construction of the Fire of Nourishment. Keep in mind, the herb patch in the Farming Guild does require 65 farming to use, as it's in the second tier of the Farming Guild. In order to plant these, you will need to make sure that the patch has been raked of weeds, and then you plant the seeds with the seed dibber, and then treat with Ultra Compost. Ultra Compost is recommended due to its reduction in death chance, as well as its increase in minimum yield. You then have the option to water the allotments or flower if you want. This will prevent the growth stage of the crop is on to not be diseased. You cannot water herb seeds, however. In order to harvest, you will need a spade in your inventory, and it is recommended to have magic secateurs equipped for the increased yield. When it comes to planting allotments, you generally want to plant the best seed possible due to their low cost. This is only really argued at Snapegrass due to them being over 1k a seed, and you need 3 seeds per allotment patch. So this can add up rather quickly if doing Snapegrass. And when considering the XP given, you get 82 experience per harvest, whereas watermelons cost 112 GP per seed and give you 54.5 XP per harvest. Over 10 times the price for not even 2 times the experience gained. In terms of herbs though, most people use herbs as a way to offset the overall costs from farming, and if you're doing so, it is generally considered that either Renars or Snapdragons will give you the most profit in the long run. However, if you are concerned about them dying due to their high seed costs, then only plant them at the patches that are disease-free, so the top of the Troll Stronghold, Weiss, and the HOSIDIUS patch, if you have the favor requirement of 50% HOSIDIUS favor. And then plant something else in the herb patches that have a low seed cost but a high herb price, and generally you end up looking at herbs like Toadflax or Aventos. So now flowers. Flowers are not your normal crop. I mean, you can grow them and pick them just like any other crop, but they have benefits if you leave them fully grown. Different flowers will protect different crops when they are fully grown, meaning that the allotments will never die if that flower is fully grown. So marigolds protect potatoes, onions, and tomatoes, rosemary protects cabbages, and nasturtium protects watermelons, and the white lily protects all neighboring allotments. There's also a scarecrow that will protect sweet corn, but it's not technically a flower. If you are planting allotments, go ahead and plant the flower that will protect whatever crop you are growing. This will allow you to not have to worry about losing experience due to those dying. You will still have to Ultra Compost, though, to make sure that you increase the minimum yield of the allotments. Here's a run showing all the different allotments and herb patches. Let's talk about the inventory. I'll be doing a full herb run, so I'll be doing every single herb patch possible. So for this run, you'll need 9 herb seeds, enough allotment seeds for 6 patches, which is 36 allotments or 36 seeds. You'll need 6 white lily seeds if you don't already have these planted and you need to plant them so that your crops don't die. You'll need an ectophile to get to Port Phasmatis. Bottomless compost bucket is really nice. That or just have a ton of compost in the tool leprechaun for you. You'll need a spade and a seed dibber, arty cloak or some way to get to the arty patch. You'll need the salts to get to Weiss as well as the Troll Stronghold. And then I have runes for a spellbook swap into a Harmony Island teleport, but that can be easily replaced with just a Harmony Island teleport. In my rune pouch, I have laws, astrals, and nature runes, and I have a mud battle staff in my inventory as well as a tome of fire equipped. I have my farming guild or my farming cape equipped as well, which is a way to get to the farming guild. So if you don't have that, make sure you have a skills necklace to get there. I also have my Xerix talisman equipped to get to the HOSIDIUS patch, as well as having my explorer's ring to get to the Draenor patch. And with that, let's start this run. So first I'm going to do a spellbook swap to get to the Archaea spellbook and then go to Harmony Island and then run south to the farm patch. I'm going to pick this, and a little trick is you want to spam click this until you see the stutter step of your character, and then you will be picking basically 2 for every pick. I've talked about this in the past, but it's a little trick. So then you're going to want to teleport to Weiss and go ahead and plant your seed here. use the Ultra Compost on it. You can use your herbs on the Tool Leprechaun to note them for you, which I would highly advise. Then teleport to the Troll Stronghold and do this patch here as well. Use the Tool Leprechaun here if you're doing only herb runs, because the Tool Leprechaun at the Port Phasmatis patch, which is where we're going next, is super far away. If you're doing an allotment run, it doesn't matter because you're probably going to have to use him anyway. So then teleport to Port Phasmatis, run west, get over here, plant what you need. So I'm going to plant my herbs, and then I'm going to switch out the flowers to white lilies, and then we will start harvesting the watermelons. And like I said, spam click this until you see your character kind of stutter step a little bit, and then you'll be harvesting. You're harvesting at an increased rate. I forgot the actual percentages, but it definitely helps with your harvesting rate to increase the speed of these, because when you do full allotment runs, these runs can take quite a long time. So make sure you're doing that. I'm going to move over here and clear out the other one for us. And I get a lot of watermelons off of this. This does not normally happen. You do not normally get this many, but I'm getting a lot for whatever reason. So plant this, and then next patch we will go to the HOSIDIUS one. So Zarek's Talisman to the Zeratian Glade, and then run over here and do the same thing that we did before in the last patch. So harvest the watermelons, change out the flower if you need to, plant your allotments, plant your herbs, use the produce on the Tool Leprechaun as needed to save inventory space, or drop it if you just don't care. Switch that out. Then grab my rake from the Tool Leprechaun because I haven't done this in forever. Plant the watermelons or snake grass or whatever you want. And then I'm going to go to the cabbage patch and run south or north from the cabbage patch. And go ahead and clear these out. Put the watermelons in. Switch out the flower with the white lily. Go ahead and pick my herbs. Go ahead and drop everything first so I have my inventory space for my herbs. And then from here, we will move on to the Artie patch. So I'll teleport to the Artie farm because the Artie Cape 4 is really good. Another method of getting here would be to use something like the Fishing Guild teleport on a skills necklace or the Lunar Spellbook. You can use a quest point teleport or a quest point cape teleport to get here. You can just teleport to Artie and run north as well. Artie Cape is definitely the best though. Grab my herbs. And keep it moving. So I'll go ahead and use my produce on him. Teleport to Catherby. You can also teleport to Camelot and just run east. Or you can take a charter ship here, but there's no real good charter ship spot, so I'd recommend just getting a Camelot teleport and getting here. Ton of watermelons from this one. There we go. Swap out the flowers. Finish up this watermelon side. Compost it, and now harvest my herbs. And after this patch, we will now go to the farming guild. So I will use my farming cape to get there. You can also use a skills necklace to teleport to the farming guild, or you can use the fairy ring code CIR to get here as well. Go ahead and plant in your 2 allotment patches. Clear them if you need to. Plant your flower if you need to as well. Flowers will not take nearly as long as your allotments. They will take, I think, like half the speed. They are much faster. They'll finish in like half the time. So then if you have 65 farming, you'll run over here, pick your herbs, plant it, and then you end in the farming guild near a bank. Time to wrap up this guy with some helpful notes. Planting spirit trees are a great way of getting experience boosts. However, they are not a reliable way to train farming though, due to you having to be lucky to get them as a drop in the first place. If you do decide to plant these, then the easiest one to get to is the farming guild, and is arguably one of the more important ones pre-farming cape, due to you not having to have another method of teleportation in your inventory in the form of a skills necklace to get to the farming guild. It does require you to have 85 farming though, because the spirit tree patch is in the 3rd tier of the farming guild. These will take 2.7 days to grow, or 64 hours, and will give you 19,501 experience. The payment required for these is 5 monkey nuts, 1 monkey bar, and 1 ground tooth, which is just a suka tooth that has been ground with a pestle and mortar. Due to the length of growing, amount of experience, cheapness of items, and the rarity of the seeds, I would recommend protecting these to ensure that you get the almost 20k experience drop. The locations you can farm these are at the southeast of Ecteria, which is the island on the other side of Miscellanea, east of Port Sarum, north of Brimhaven Agility Arena, southeast of the HOSIDIUS Bank, and in the 3rd tier of the Farming Guild, which requires 85 farming. Cacti are great to plant as supplemental money as well. Plant them just like herbs and check them after your herb runs for some extra profit, but do not clear them, just pick the spines off of them. Ultra compost the patch and use your magic secateurs when harvesting them. You can plant a cactus in Al-Kharid south of the duel arena and in the 1st tier of the farming guild. These require 55 farming to farm. Also, let's talk about Hespori. Hespori requires 65 farming to farm and cannot be diseased. When harvested, it will spawn the farming boss Hespori. It is very easy to kill and has a chance of dropping different seeds, as well as granting the killer 12,662 farming experience when harvested and defeated. You can get these seeds when harvesting or checking the health of any crop, or by completing farming contracts, which I will discuss in a minute. The boss will then make 2 loot rolls when it dies. It will roll once on the Anima Seed table, then the normal seed table, with the potential of dropping almost any kind of seed in the game alongside the bottomless compost bucket or the farming pet. So I mentioned earlier about Anima Seeds. Anima Seeds require 76 farming to plant, and the seeds only drop from Hespori. There are 3 types, and they have different effects from the moment they are planted when they die approximately 3.5 days later. They will no longer have the effect that they had when they were initially planted. The 3 types are Chronos, which provides a chance for a farming patch to skip a growth stage, the Iosaur, which decreases the chance of farming patches becoming diseased, and the Attas seed, which increases the yield of farming patches. Under most XP circumstances, you should be prioritizing Chronos seeds to speed up your tree growing, but if you're after money, prioritize your Attas seeds so you get more money from your herb patches. These do not need to be composted or watered. They will die in 3.5 days after being planted, and you can do nothing to stop those. Farming contracts. Farming contracts are offered by Guildmaster Jane in the Farming Guild, and she will give you a choice of an easy, medium, or hard contract, depending if you have 45, 65, or 85 farming, the same levels that correspond with the different tiers of the Farming Guild. Upon completion of these, you will receive a seed bag, which can contain an assortment of seeds, including a chance at a Hespori seed, Salacious seed, or Redwood seeds. If you are lacking Hespori seeds, then these can be good to do. But if they require you to take a massive hit on experience to plant something that you wouldn't normally plant, then it may not be worth it if you already have a surplus of Hespori seeds. And finally, growth cycles. Everything in farming grows on a particular cycle. These cycles can be anywhere from 5 minutes up to 640 minutes. To help example this, I will be using herbs. Herbs all grow on the 20-minute growth cycle, and they have 4 cycles of that, meaning they will need to go through the next 4 20-minute growth cycles without diseasing in order to be fully grown. Blaze it. All growth cycles are labeled on the OSRS wiki, and there are far too many for me to go into detail here, so I will post a link to that in the description so you can see what it is. But basically what will happen is, the time will hit the next growth cycle. The system will roll to see if the plant is going to get diseased, and if it does, the crop will be diseased for the duration of the next growth cycle. If it is not cured before the next growth cycle, the crop will die. If it is, the crop will have to repeat the same growth cycle and see if it gets diseased again, or if it grows at the end of that cycle. You can manipulate this to plant crops just before the next growth cycle to essentially save you some extra time, more notably with trees, but this requires an immense amount of planning, and you will have to look into this yourself to develop an optimized planting method in order to skip these growth cycles. The Resurrect crop spell on the REQS spellbook Yes, it's good to use. Would I prioritize using it? Maybe on something like a Snapdragon or a Renard Seed, something that's really expensive, but most of the time you're not sitting on the REQS spellbook anyway. Usually you want to be sitting on the Lunar spellbook when it comes to doing like herbs and allotment runs. So if you're on the REQS spellbook, then yeah, it's great because it has a chance of saving you that extra 40k on a Snapdragon Seed, but I wouldn't prioritize it on things like Toad Flax Seeds. Finally, we're done. That is everything that I know about the farming skill. This is everything that you should know in order to be able to train from 1 to 99 farming efficiently. If there's something that I missed or there's something that you want to know about, please leave it in the comments. I'll be happy to talk to you about it. I know a lot about the farming skill. This video is already over 30 minutes long. I don't want to go into the finite micro details of everything. I've done that enough already. If there's something that you want to know about, leave it in a well orchestrated comment and I'll be happy to respond to you and give you all the information that I know about it. But that is going to do it for me. This should give you all the information you need to get to level 99 farming efficiently. If you enjoyed this video, which I hope you did because this took a lot of time to put together, please give the video a like. Subscribe if you want to see more content from the channel. And links to all of my social medias are in the description. Have a great morning, afternoon, evening, night, whatever time of day it is, and I'll catch you guys in the next video or the next 99 guide.